The Rocket by Jackson Allen. Read by Jeremiah Jones. Thanks for joining us. Jackson Allen writes science fiction stories and I'm a voice actor. Quick housekeeping notes before we get started. If you like what you hear, please take a moment to hit those like and subscribe buttons so you can hear when we put out new stories. You can purchase an ebook copy of The Rocket at inkican.com/realityshelter. If you'd like to hire me for voice acting, my Instagram handle is Jeremiah Jones VO. Now that we've got that out of the way, sit back, relax, and enjoy The Rocket.
Be out of here when the rain clears.
Their pilot looks out at a gray, sodden sky. Grumpy old fart. Crane hopes he still knows how to fly. His life, his entire family, depends on the answer. Most people aboard will never see Earth again. Crane is one of them. He nods to the geriatric astronaut, keeping his face into the open air. Some men want to enjoy their last cigarette before a lifetime of nicotine patches. Crane wants to feel the rain. He wants to smell the air. He wants to remember this. It will be a long time before Crane feels them again, if he ever does. The sound of water streaming from the engine bell can't drown out the sound of protest. Crazy's still out in the distance. They wear cheap plastic slickers and wave signs, or maybe their arms. You're making a mistake, they say. You'll be sorry, they say. Crane's already sorry. This could have been so much easier. Rich people row to the stars on purpose-built spacecraft. Ion drive, leather chairs, with a pine-scented air in their respirators. The smart people escaped in security and comfort. His family could have ridden the sturdy, government-issue ramjets. They built enough ships for everyone, once they understood the danger. Free rides to space, but not Crane, not his family. This rocket is all they have left. Someone resurrected a low-Earth vehicle right out of the boneyard and got it ready for the moon. Crane blew his life savings on 4 seats in the last row. Maybe the engines will fire. Maybe the ship will hold together for the launch. Cross your fingers and pray, kid. All you can do now. Stop kicking yourself. Plenty of time to do that later. That's the point of the exercise. You'll be alive. Your family will be alive. Poor, but alive. Safety isn't guaranteed, but it's better than what's happening to Earth. The old astronaut reappears, having urinated off the launch platform's edge.
Y'all can't buy coffee.
He laughs.
You can only rent it.
I thought it was illegal to pee in public.
You see a cop? Anyway, old astronaut superstition. Goes all the way back to Yuri Gagarin.
No kidding?
No kidding.
The old man zips his fly.
Or, you can call it a test of the water sound suppression system.
He laughs at his own joke, and then his face turns serious.
They still out there?
Crane nods. Yeah. The astronaut pilot shakes his head in sad disbelief.
Can't believe it's come to this.
He checks his watch.
T-minus 30. I need to get up there. Make sure you get aboard when you hear the boat recall horn.
Sure. I just wanted to feel the rain for a while.
Know what you mean.
The old man smiles.
That's what I missed the most while I was up there.
He turns.
Don't forget, come when you hear the horn.
He wobbles up the gantry on calcium-deprived legs. This is so stupid. I can't believe I'm doing this. Don't think about the risk. Focus on the science. Their ship rides on a mass driver, an electromagnetic catapult. The sled shoots forward at launch, reaching Mach 8.5 by the time they reach the end of the ramp. Then, the rockets fire and they reach low Earth orbit in minutes. They will arrive at the nearest refugee station in lunar orbit 2 days later. It'll work. It has to work. Protest noises are growing louder now as the crazies overcome their fear of unguarded roadblocks. Someone uses a truck as a battering ram to knock down the roto gates. The crowd flows forward, not surging, not plotting like zombies. But they're coming. The leading edge of the throng is only minutes away. One man drops his cigarette and shouts into the rocket. "They're coming!" Panic makes his voice crack. "What do we do?"
The launch capacitors haven't finished charging,
the pilot calls back, appearing at the entry hatch.
We're at 97%. Need all 100 to release the safeties.
He glares at the protesters.
Check the launch console. They should have some androids on crowd detail.
The man who shouted a warning now throws himself forward into the launch engineer's bay. "Found it!" They hear him yell in triumph. From a splintering woodshed come clanking old crowd control bots. The machines were meant to corral yesteryear's VIPs at a rocket launch. So, perhaps they can do something about the advancing mob. Androids wave reluctant mandibles in vague circles, and it seems to work. They hear the crowd scream in response, cringing away from them. It's bought the rocket some time, and the circle of men standing on the gantry applaud their hero's quick actions. Some kind of tech engineer? Crane wonders, watching the man work? Another skeptic who became a believer at the last second, like me? What made him change his mind?
98%,
the pilot, focusing their attention.
We're almost ready. A few more minutes and we're hauling the mail.
I hope it's enough, someone says, pointing. Some of the protesters broke through. They armed? Crane asks. Nah, old fogies. One of them has a sign. I hope they've already lost their hearing, someone warns. These rockets will blow their eardrums right off. Chuckles of dark humor, revealing the chasm between every man and woman on the planet. Some people choose to believe the asteroid on a collision course for the Earth is a myth, a conspiracy. They remain tuned to news channels crowing 24/7 about the mass collusion, intrigue at the highest levels of government. Social media spawned spores of resistance to the escape campaigns. Nobody should go to space. It's a plot to keep them in power, they said. They want the whole world, blogs explained. Now they found a way to get it. Dominion, they scream. It's all about Dominion. Earth is our home. When they have us in those floating refugee camps, they'll have the planet to themselves. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the lies. No asteroid. No space rocks. We're all going to be fine, living on a planet free of stupidity. Crane is ashamed to admit he was once one of them. In the early days, he followed the siren songs of logical fallacy. People were leaving. Fewer to compete for resources. Who cared if they carried mass tracts of land with them to jumpstart bioengineering in space or the moon? 80 or 90% of the population is gone. The Earth could rest now. Who cared if they colonized other planets under false pretenses? Now, their home could be occupied and cared for like it always should have been. It wasn't all bad. The fake asteroid expected to land 2 years in the future? People were leaving now, meaning nearly zero unemployment. Fewer people to compete, doing work for the super rich who could not automate every task. Caring for their homes, caring for their children. Salaries were astronomical, unthinkable. Economy stabilized, and stock markets soared. Those ordinary workmen finally felt the comfort of compensation for their hard work. Life was good. So good that workers ignored or pretended to ignore discreet escape hatches installed in those opulent houses. Some doors led to hidden rocket launch pads. Other portals disappeared into long, dark mine shafts. It was not necessary to leave the planet to survive. An underground living space, built by robotic workers, would survive a mass extinction event.
Escape hatches. The wealthy scoffed at the suggestion. Fake news. The insurance companies insisted we install an escape room. It's nothing. I don't even know what it looks like inside. Don't even think about it.
Cold facts, however, are impossible to ignore. The pinprick of light in the sky growing brighter with every passing week. Scientific explanations emailed home from the PhDs orbiting the moon. Get out, they said. There's still time. This is no moon, nor is it a space station. Something was coming toward Earth. It wasn't going to pass like Halley's Comet or the Perseids. This one was getting close, very close. In a few more days, it will strike the surface of the planet. It's coming. Scientists broadcast on every radio and television channel they could find. The impact zone is near Australia, but the entire planet will feel it. You will see tsunamis taller than the Chrysler Building, traveling over 1,000 miles per hour. Waves will impact far American and Asian shores, earthquakes and volcanoes. Stratospheric ejecta will rain fire on forests thousands of miles away. Decade-long dust clouds creating their own greenhouse effects.
For many years, weather patterns on Earth no plant can survive.
This is just like the Cretaceous Paleogene extinction event, they explained. Then, they explained the explanation. Some life can survive a mass extinction event, they said, but most of it will not. You aren't tougher than a dinosaur, they campaigned. They showed sensor data, pictures, video, anything to convince hardened hearts the threat was real. The C-type asteroid passed the outer orbits of Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter. Satellites tracked it, moving through the asteroid belt between near Jupiter. Telescopes watched it as it passed Mars. Please, they begged, get off the planet. There won't be anything left. Plants will die. The animals will die. You will die. And your families will die. We can still survive. Humanity can rebuild. Please leave now while you still can. Here they come, someone said to Crane. Made it up across the stairs. What? Crane looks with alarm to the edge of the platform where the gantry access doors bolted shut hours ago. Were they armed? No. Just 3 old people. Soaked with torn clothes and bedraggled gray hair. They made it past the gates, the robots, and the weather. All this way, only to be stopped by the locked gates. Their eyes were different. They had a look of, well, it wasn't quite an accusation. Triumph, maybe? Schadenfreude? Here to delight in the humiliation of others? No, that wasn't it. Something familiar about the protesters Crane could not ignore. Crane's mouth fell open in shock when he realized the truth. Those weren't a stranger's eyes. They belonged to his dad. Crane and his father stared at each other for long, agonizing seconds. Eyes tell stories no words could relate. There was no need to recount years of bitter words together, or the following years of silence. Hearts pushed light years apart. Judgments making deep chasms not to be filled. Then came the long, sad quiet. A million opportunities for redemption killed by rationalization. Contention worn down by attrition to fruitless penance with no reward. It was poetic for the universe to bring them together again one last time. They would appreciate the cosmos' bizarre sense of humor. Let them see each other, separated by their past as much as the locked gate between them. Never thought I'd see you here, Mike. Crane's father broke the silence. What are you doing in Florida? Last I heard you were in Indiana or something. We did. Crane corrects himself. Live in Indiana. Drove cross country to make it here in time. All this way and you never came by? You should have called. Crane represses a sigh. No reason to point out that he hadn't had a decent contact number for his father in years. I was planning to find you up there. Me? Get on one of those fake spaceships? Don't be absurd. Crane's father was disdainful. It's not fake. This thing is real, Crane replies.
To illustrate his point, someone knocks against alloy skin with their knuckles. "Who cares?" The old man scoffs. "Abandon our home to join these sheep going to the slaughter in space. You must be out of your mind." "There's still time, Dad. First time I've seen you in 20 years and you're spouting nonsense." "Other rockets are leaving too," Crane kept going, refusing to be distracted. "Up and down the coast. You might be able to squeeze on board." He gestures to the bolted gates. "I can't get you through here. Even if I did, there's no room." "Sprouting nonsense!" The old man fumes. "My boy, my smart second boy. No phone calls or emails for 2 whole decades." He turns to the squat old woman next to him, wearing a plastic hair cover to protect her steel-colored curls. "Can you believe this?" He looks back at his son. "Those scientists are crisis actors, Michael. Any rational person can tell." Crane nods. "I used to think that too, Dad." "There's going to be books, movies, enough for the next 50 years to talk about this scam." "In 50 years, this spot on the planet won't even exist." "Exactly." Crane's father stabs at the air with an arthritic finger. "They'll pull down this place out of shame. The greatest crime in history. They pulled the wool over your eyes just like the Nazis did for Germany." "There's too much evidence, Dad. Too many pieces fit together." "Conspiracy, Michael. Only it isn't a conspiracy. It's right in front of us and you're falling for it." "Dad, there's nothing to fall for. Something's falling toward us." "That's a load of bull and everyone knows it." Crane's father thunders on. "Maybe you can't think rationally about your ivory tower scientist. You always were stubborn. But to think you dragged your own child—" "Children," Crane interrupts. "What?" "2 kids, Dad." Crane swallows. "A boy and a girl. Mark's almost 10, and Kara is 6.5. 2 grandchildren." His father muttered the wind out of his sails. "Yes, 2. "Kara?" "Yeah, from a book. I'm sorry this is the first time you heard. That's as much as my fault as anyone else's." 2 children. My grandkids. Whole lives in front of them. And you put them in this rattle trap? Risking their safety? Come on, Dad. You knew we wouldn't be here if we had any better choice. The better choice is in front of you," his father bellows. "Unbuckle their safety belts and get them out of there." "No, Dad." Crane shakes his head, glad for the rain. Tears of frustration and regret well from his eyes. They mix with water from the sky to roll down his cheeks and drip from his jaw. No one would ever know. 99% charge, a voice calls in the distance. Only a few minutes left. "We're leaving now," Crane said through the steel grid separating the 2 men. "You can't get aboard this rocket, but you can find another. Get up there and you can be with us. We can be together." "I won't hear of it." "Come on, Dad. Just so we can be No!" his father shouts. "You want to be stupid and throw your life away? Go ahead. You didn't listen to me then and you aren't listening to me now." "I am listening to you, Dad. You're wrong about that, just like you were wrong about this rocket. I heard every word you said. You're putting your kids into this crackpot scheme to die alongside you." The elder Crane jeers. "I should call Child Protective Services." "There's no government to call anymore, Dad." Crane interrupts him, pointing to the ground. "Don't you get it? They're either buried underground or up where we're going. No services, barely any power left." "I'm a citizen, and I still have rights." The elder Crane fumbles in his pockets. "I should call my boss. He'll know what to do." "Your phone works?" "He gave me one that reaches him. Radio doohickey." "What are you doing with a boss? I thought you retired." "They were paying too good," his father answers. "Pay off my debts, take care of his compound. Nice guy. More money than God himself." And he's here. Down near Miami, sure. Great wages for the first time in my life. You went back to work, Crane said, unable to fathom his father's logic. Paying off debt? To who? His father shrugs aged, aching shoulders. I got bills. Bills with banks that won't exist in a few days. They still have money, banks. I'm paying it off fast, thinking of buying a house. You're buying a house, Dad? Listen to yourself. Someone's cutting me a deal. Crane's father drew himself up. What did you use to buy your seats on that space jalopy? Somebody did me a favor, Dad. Let me bring some data they forgot to uplink. Data? Something they need for bioengineering. Long story short, someone forgot a tape. I broke into the labs and grabbed the tapes. You broke into a lab? That makes you a criminal. They gave me permission, Dad. And they let me buy these seats with whatever was in my life savings. That's why we're here. They said law and order would break down. The older man shakes his head like an angry toddler. Never imagine it taking my own kin. Dad, please. There are only a few seconds left and Crane knows it. Please, for God's sake, shut up and listen to me. They're the only ones with the courage to tell the truth. They aren't real, Dad. Don't you know that? Crane pulls at his face, holding back a bitter laugh at the cosmic irony of the situation. Is this God getting back at me? Is this supposed to be my act of contrition? They release studies. Those talking heads are CGI. They're video puppets. Real people went underground weeks ago. They said you'd say that. Of course they did, Dad. Crane paces, unable to contain his frustration. They need you here, on the surface. You're supposed to stay right where you are. And where we are is a beautiful place, let me tell you. No more immigrants. They can't risk one of you jackhammering into their bunker right before impact. Those talking heads made billions by lying to you. Crane points at his father's pocket. Please, do this for me. Call your boss. Ask him about his bunker. Go on, ask him. Mr. Wilson's off on vacation, the old man retorts. He'll be back on Wednesday. Wednesday is the day when the asteroid hits the Earth, Dad. I know. Crane's father sneers. He's coming back to celebrate the National Day of Stupidity. October 4th, the day that lives in infamy. Crane's mouth fell open again, this time in disbelief. It wasn't that his father couldn't see the lies. He refused to see them. The illusion was not maintained to perfection. You could find the truth if you bothered to look. Yet, people like Crane's father had been taught to believe that facts were required to be comfortable. They distrusted any information that didn't feel good. Crane will never know if his father made a conscious choice to be ignorant. He just knew that his father, like millions of others, don't want to know. Dad, please. Crane tries one last time, his voice quivering with emotion. Not like this. Like what, boy? Like a man? Like an adult? This isn't you. This isn't what I remember about you. This isn't who you raised me to be. I raised you to be a decent member of society, the older Crane roars. At least that's what I thought I was doing. But you people, you don't know the first thing about decency, about society. I know that society is supposed to protect itself, Crane replies. That's all this is. Yeah, it's protecting itself all right. We're getting the knuckleheads off our planet. We can finally live the way we always should. Despite his shock, Crane finds a point of common ground in his father's angry words. His dad is right. Humanity does protect itself.
Dad's rationalizations are no different than an old dog going off to die when its time has come. Are the soundbite answers a swan song? Maybe. You could look at it that way, along with the normalization of deviance. They couldn't compromise. They refused to understand the issue. They deliberately eroded critical thought. There was no other way to see it. They want it this way, even if it kills them.
That might be their epitaph, their valediction, a sad footnote at the end state of humanity.
Eventually, Crane finds his voice.
Well, I guess you've made up your mind.
His father's eyes remain flinty. Just like you, boy. I hope you can live with yourself, son.
I'll have to.
Tears flow freely down Mike Crane's cheeks as the boat recall horn blares. Remaining outdoor passengers scamper for the airlock. The passengers throw things behind them as they depart. Cigarettes, memory boxes, even a wedding ring. The rocket is leaving in 60 seconds, with or without them.
Take care of yourself, Pop.
Don't worry about me, Sonny. You just worry about those kids.
I will.
Crane nods, heartbroken and choking back a sob.
That's why I'm doing this.
He turns away from his father for the last time through tear-blurred eyes. Anonymous hands grip him by the shoulders, urging him through the airlock on legs like lead weights. The pain is indescribable, and it isn't over. Crane turns one last time as the airlock door shuts to look at his dad. That's when it happens. Years of estrangement, bitter words of their last argument, they all melt away. Mike! Mikey? His father is calling to him. It wasn't mean or angry, just a father calling to his child. In that brief instant, the older man finally cracks. He finally gets it. Crane sees in his dad's eyes that he knows. His father finally understood. Mikey! What? The airlock closes before his father can finish the sentence. Crane arrives at this seat, a broken, crushed man. His wife Terry had been told what happened. She could only hold Crane's hand as he sobs, as the safeties release for departure. Just as designed, the space ramp accelerates to Mach 8.5 on the electromagnetic rails. At the end of the ramp, locks release, and they are on their way. Brutal physical forces pull tears from Crane's eyes. They roll along the side of his head, through his hair to stain the headrest behind him. Then the engine fires, a gentle thump easing their departure from the surly bonds of Earth. Over the intercom, the pilot announces,
"We have achieved escape velocity, folks. We are on our way."
Passengers cheer, voices groaning from the strain of 4Gs on their chest. The rocket, despite its age, got them to their 17,500 mile-per-hour orbital speed 8.5 minutes later, just like it was supposed to. Then the rocket engines fire again for translunar injection. The asteroid won't get them. They will be safe. Crane barely responds to their achievement. Passengers will spend the next 2 days in cramped quarters telling stories and helping each other cope. But Crane will stay at his seat. Any time a porthole lets him see the ground. His tear-stained eyes lock onto the planet they leave behind. The impact is only hours away when Mike Crane and his family arrive at the lunar processing station. They pause at the station's barbecue roll, an expensive undertaking that takes away artificial gravity so that everyone can see the collision as it happens to their ancient home. Video cameras track the white-hot streak as it passes beneath the moon. They see a flash, atom bomb bright, where the asteroid lands between New Caledonia and the Gold Coast. Sound doesn't travel in space, but everyone imagines the screaming roar of water and air. In minutes, shock waves are visible across the Pacific. In an hour, the bottom half of the planet is covered in smudges of gray and black. In a day, Earth's green and blue is totally gone. Only one person refuses to watch the ballet of obliteration, and it's Crane. There was nothing on Earth he wanted to see.
Crane can only stare into infinite space, the newest home of a lost soul.
Thanks for listening. Once again, if you like what you hear, please take a moment to like and subscribe so you can hear when we put out new stories. You can purchase an ebook copy of The Rocket at inkican.com/realityshelter. If you'd like to hire me for voice acting, my Instagram handle is JeremiahJonesVO. Jackson and I appreciate you joining us. We'll see you down the road.